Hello, everybody.
Hey, welcome to the show that happens on Tuesdays. What's up, James?
What's going on, David?
Yeah, we're back to this thing where we don't really know what to call it.
I know. I mean,
we have some ideas. But
some people were saying that Random Select is actually a really good name. I mean, we talked about how similar it sounded to Option Select.
Yeah, that was the issue.
But I don't know. Maybe we should just go.
I'm fine with that. I guess I'm also fine with just making it up every week, but
I could ask Ryan. I mean, if
I'd kind of like to nail it down, I guess.
We could ask Ryan and see what he says, right?
Yeah. We should. I don't know. Either way, we should probably get around to like figuring out if it's always going to be the same thing or always different. You know, like
right.
We're not even there. Anyway, what's up? My name is Ultra David. As always, James Chen with me.
How's it going?
It's going pretty well. So today, big news. Obviously, Skullgirls has been released on PSN.
That's right.
But we just had a whole, literally 4 hours on that thing yesterday, last night with Mike Z. I hope that you watched it. If you didn't, you can check out the archives. They're also, as we speak, going up on YouTube.
Oh, you got it.
Currently uploading. So that should be up hopefully maybe later tonight. That's youtube.com/UltraChenTV. If you want to get all your Skullgirls action, check it out there if you are somehow able to tear yourself away from that game.
Right.
So anyway, that's not what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, and by the way, it is going to be out on Xbox Live tomorrow. So all of us Xbox players are going to be are waiting right now.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we'll get it tomorrow. So.
All right. So today, we're not going to talk about gameplay in particular. We're going to talk more community and game choice and things like that because we've been receiving questions from people.
I mean, we have the Ask, Jchensor, the Ask Ultra Chen segments, and we've been getting a lot of questions, a lot of very introspective questions and such too. So, rather than just kind of devoting a shorter period of time to them, we kind of want to go through, I guess, and talk about a little things because there's a few points that are being brought up that I feel like should be addressed, especially for some of those people who have trepidation about trying to join the community and such, and trepidation about even playing some of the games. So,
yeah, that's right. I mean, specifically, questions were like, if somebody goes to a tournament, or it's like, why go to a tournament? Worried that you'll be hated on for going. And just for trying, and look at this scrub, he sucks.
Right.
Why am I even bothering with this?
And it's just that whole kind of question again of like you go to a tournament, you don't do well. Why do you even matter? Why should you go? Is it really ever? Are people ever going to get good enough to actually compete and such and such? And so that's definitely something that we want to address. Oops, hang on.
Right. Basically, that's how everybody starts. Everybody starts out not being good at games. Nobody picks up a game and is good. Nobody picks up a new community and is instantly a major part of it, right? Like in both sides of this thing, both gameplay and community, there's a little bit of an adjustment time. But don't let that stop you from doing something that you love to do and joining a community that's really cool.
Yeah.
And really strong.
I mean, one of the things that you're going to find out right away is that when you go to these events, when you go to these tournaments, it's just amazing to be kind of in a room with a bunch of people who enjoy the same things that you do, of all skill level. And I think that's kind of the important thing too, because you may think to yourself, I'll never be good enough to compete with all these people. But you meet all these other people who have these kind of drives, these drives to play the game. And sure enough, you might meet someone who lives really close to you, and then the two of you can start training with each other, and maybe his drive is stronger than yours and ends up being kind of infectious, and you guys end up pushing each other kind of a situation. I mean, perfect example of this actually is the Sacramento crew.
Yeah.
The Sacramento Marvel crew, particularly mine and X-Ray. I know there's other guys in that group whose names escape me right now, so I completely apologize. One of them was Snake something, like it wasn't Snake Eyes because there's like 7 of them in our community, but yeah, I mean they're a perfect example. X-Ray and mine had been playing Marvel with each other and their little crew for a very long time, and I talked to mine and X-Ray. Actually, it was mostly mine, and he says he doesn't even really get to go down and play NorCal all that much. Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know California geography, Sacramento is NorCal, but it's not the Bay Area, which is usually what we're talking about when we talk about NorCal. That's where the heavy population is in NorCal, not in Sacramento.
Snake Dukes. Someone
Snake
mentioned
Dukes.
it. Yeah, there you go. And the cool thing about it is we talked about this at SCR when mine got second place to Justin, in that he basically had probably, I would have almost considered him MVP of Marvel that year. Or
that's right. He did have a really good year.
Or
That's
Rookie
true.
of the Year or something like that, because he finished top 8 at Evo.
Yeah.
Right. He won the NCR.
They both did, right?
Yeah, they both made top
they
8
both
at
made
Evo.
top
Yeah.
eight, yeah.
And and I asked him too. I'm like, who do you guys play? They're like, each other.
Yeah. Yep.
And then mine won that NCR, the Shoryuken.com tournament, the Hello Phoenix, Goodbye Phoenix, Hello Phoenix tournament. And then he came down, knocked Justin in the losers bracket, and then ended up losing to Justin in grand finals. It's a perfect example right there of players who are just continually pushing each other. And, you don't have to be one of the top players. I mean, one of the questions that we got was actually concerning, do top players just like ignore people? Do they not help people?
Right.
Are they unfriendly?
Right.
I mean, how is it written
There,
here?
there was some good phrasing.
Let me
That's
see.
true.
It was just basically asking, like, does Justin Wong ever, want to help a newbie who he's never met before, and,
Yeah.
Why would he spend his time trying to, talk to strangers when he could be just hanging out with his friends?
Right.
And
Yeah. I
ignoring
mean,
everybody.
this person is worried that a top player in fighting games is not going to be accessible and will be mean and not welcoming and, exclusionary and all those crappy things.
Right.
I feel like that's the rep that a lot of top players get.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, there are going to be those guys.
Of course
in
there
the
are those
community.
guys. Yeah, there are those guys in every community. But the fact is that a lot of the people, it's funny that he specifically mentions Justin, because I can think of a ton of times where Justin has, after owning somebody, gone up to the person and been like, here's what you could have done.
Right.
Here's some tactics, here's some strategies, maybe pick a different character, play against these people, like all these things to help the person out. It's just something that he does.
Even when Justin was, he hasn't been streaming as much recently, but when he was streaming, he would literally ask everybody on the stream, what team do you use in Marvel? And then he would pick those 3 characters, and then he would just make up tech for them. Yeah, he would literally. And another thing, too, I mean, seriously, of course, we know Justin on a personal level. We're good friends with him.
It's different, sure.
It's not a lie, though, that when we say that he's seriously like one of the nicest guys that you've ever met.
Super thoughtful.
Yeah.
So cute.
And you're going to catch people on their bad days. There will be days that you'll try to talk to Justin and he'll just be like, get out of my face.
That's
kind
true.
of thing.
I mean, even you have turned down autographs, right?
Shut up.
Fact.
I did not turn down an autograph. I hate you so much.
It's cool.
I hate you so much.
But no, I mean, it's true. Everybody has their days.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be too worried about the top players not being welcoming, because a lot of them are welcoming. A lot of the top players are like that. They know how they got their starts.
Right.
Justin, it's not like Justin came up in like this monolithic world where like it was just him and it was like him and he had to do everything on his own. And
right.
Like I feel like those are some of the questions that we got are kind of like that, where there's kind of this implicit assumption that everybody just, but before you and I have started this, before other people started helping people, et cetera, that everything just kind of happened
on our own.
On our own, right?
In this extremely violent and
Right, yeah.
evil world,
Yeah.
I
But like Justin definitely had a mentor. He
Yes.
he definitely was able to talk with people and figure stuff out that way, not just on his own. Of course, on his own is a big part of it, but he definitely used resources in the community once he joined the community.
Yeah.
And you can bet that when this dude joined the community, what was he, like 12 or some crap? Like he was super young when he first came. It was like ridiculous.
I think his first he was at B5 and I think he was like 14 or something
So
like that.
I mean, you're not you're not at a tournament at 14 years old and not getting any kind of friendship or like community or whatever.
Right.
It's something that he knows about, and it's the same story with everybody.
Right.
Everybody has some mentor that helps them on their way in, or somebody that they talk with, or whatever.
One of the things that bothers me is a lot of people talk about how it used to be in the old days, and how everybody was mean and everybody was a jerk and no one was friends, and we all just went into fisticuffs in alleys and stuff like that. And and I think that reputation almost has kind of gone a little too crazy.
You know why? It's because everybody has one or two stories that they know of where it's like, man, I was at the arcade one time out of the 10 trillion times I was at the arcade when this guy pulled a knife. And that's the story you tell because it's the interesting story.
Dude, I got smacked in the back of the head one time after I beat someone. The guy just went boom.
I mean, I got threatened. It happened a couple of times out of the literally thousands of hours that I've been in an arcade. Like it's something like that. Like, I don't know how. I'd love to tally up how much time I spent total in arcade, but I'm sure it's like a year of my life.
Right. I mean, one of the questions that we got is just like, why is the fighting game community not full of jerks like it used to be in the past? It's
so like there's this assumption that it used to be full of jerks.
Right.
Like it didn't.
Right.
There were some jerks. There are still some jerks.
It's like, why didn't the fighting game community stay underground?
Well, that's a different question.
And then, back in the days when there were no frauds, trust me, there were plenty of frauds back then. In fact, I think there was almost kind of more frauds back then than there were now because of the lack of exposure. A lot of people these days actually know that they're not good enough, and that's where a lot of this fear kind of comes from right now. There's actually, nowadays, I mean, back then, you used to think you were great. And you legitimately thought you were great. It wasn't even posturing. It was just like, I am the best.
Because you were at your arcade. And if at your local arcade you were like godlike, then you had no real reason to suspect that at some other arcade there'd be some super sick dude who could own you, right? Like there's no...
And if you were beating everyone for free, nothing ever told you that there was more out there. And so you were just happy. You thought all your strategies were the best strategies ever. Yep. And then someone comes by and then just owns you for free. And then you're just like, what the heck?
I remember when I moved to the East Coast for school, I never forget this. Like I was playing, there was no real arcade there at the time, right? So there was a big console scene though. And so I got in this console gathering with 5 or 6 guys. And this one dude really, really wants to play CVS 2. And I'm like, fine, that's not really my game. I know a little bit about this game. Whatever. I'll derp around and see how it goes.
Right.
And I beat him like 5 in a row. Mm-hmm. And his friend turns to him and was like, so much for being top 50 in the U.S., right? I was like, what? You thought that... really? Like, really? But like he didn't know because this was back when you didn't have streams all the time. You didn't have YouTube all the time. Like you didn't get to see the fact that you were ass.
You should have crushed his dreams even more. You should just walk up to him and
I told him I don't even play this game.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, see me in threes.
Oh man, that's so messed up.
Yeah. But whatever. It was joking. Like he didn't take it too seriously.
Right.
But so were there frauds? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the scene is much bigger and a little bit diluted in some ways, but it's full of mostly the same guys.
Right. And like that's the problem too, is like when people say the fighting game community is more welcoming, like why do we even care about like trying to help other communities and such like that,
Well, let's answer that after a little bit of a break. We haven't taken a break yet.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll keep answering these questions. Like I said, we got a lot of questions that we don't necessarily always have time to answer in our own segments. So we just wanted to take a show to respond to a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And we'll keep doing that after this break.
All right.
Okay, welcome back to the Tuesday show. My name is David, and hello, James.
Hi, David.
Like I said before, we're just talking about, or we're answering questions, and one of the questions you were just about to bring up.
Yes, just kind of, I mean, a long time ago, when people played fighting games, there was a lot of save that shit for nationals kind of thing, right? Don't tell anybody any secrets or whatever.
That's true.
And,
it happened.
And a lot of things that we do nowadays that are referred to as shenanigans were like real tactics a long time ago because nobody knew about the shenanigans. It was your trick that you got to pull out at a tournament, you know?
Right.
And so that was kind of how it was a long time ago. And these days, you know, I guess one of the questions was asked is like, why has the mentality changed so much? Why are there people like you and me and Ryan Hunter and all these guys like trying to do all these things and help other people and learn new tactics and grow, you know, and become better? Like, why aren't we selfish keeping all these things for ourselves so that we can beat people down even better than before?
I feel like the best example of that question is Alex Valle, who famously STSFN'd
the Valle
as it used to be
CC,
called.
yeah.
With the Valle CC in Alpha 2, which he saved until the end of a tournament in Alpha 2 against John Choi.
Yeah, they actually discovered this trick. I'm pretty sure it was at Golfland or it was like at a small arcade, and they kept it to themselves. And I remember Vi started using it like halfway through B3. He just started pulling this out, and every time he did it and he would sweep people, everyone was wondering, like, why aren't we blocking?
Yeah, you should probably explain it, I guess.
Yeah, so basically, if you activated the custom combo and your opponent was standing, you actually had a few frames that you would move before your opponent did. It was kind of like the super freeze for the custom combo, right? And so with the characters that had fast enough sweeps, which in this game actually was most of them.
Characters, yeah.
Right. You could activate custom, and if your opponent was standing, you could sweep them.
Right.
And then off of sweeps, you could keep juggling, which they took away in Alpha 3.
So basically, if you weren't blocking before the flash, if you weren't blocking low before the flash, you were going to get swept into the big damage combo.
Yeah, and especially this was super huge for players who knew how to play footsies.
Right.
Because you wanted to walk back and forth. So they were never crouch blocking. But then all of a sudden, you walk right into range, custom, boom, you lost 50% of your life.
It was huge.
And, you know, I still remember when it was happening. Like, me and my brother, we were super technical players, and we were just watching the whole time, and we were like, can you block that? Maybe you can't block that, because nobody is blocking it. And, you know, and literally the day after the tournament ended, we came back to Sunnyvale Golfland and tested it.
Oh, nice.
Like, that day.
That's pretty cool.
And we could not block it, and we were like, okay, that was cheap.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, the coolest thing about it was, and this is kind of going off on tangent
That's
here,
cool.
the coolest thing about it was, and I always tell this story, was that during grand finals, when Vi was using it on John Choi figured out what was going on, and he started using it back on Vi,
Right.
even though he had never done it before.
He'd never seen it before.
He had never seen it before until that day, and then he started using it back
pretty
on
nuts.
Alex. It was really cool.
But the reason that I bring that up is that now Alex Valle is doing this whole level up thing where he's like specifically bringing people together to teach
Right.
them essentially, or to provide them a place where they can learn how to play fighting games.
Yeah.
So he kind of is doing what this person's talking about.
Yep. And the interesting thing about it, honestly, is that it's kind of a different mindset now. Back in the days when it was arcade to arcade, you didn't know anybody. You didn't really feel like you had any reason to really share anything. And there was really no way to share anything
exactly.
in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it was kind of the mentality of, you know, I need to win this tournament at all costs. But today, the interesting thing is that our mindset has gotten to the point where we want to be stronger and better players. So even the same players like Vi, like Watson or Choi, who might have, you know, saved tricks like that for nationals or whatever like that, you compare our scene that time to how Japan was, and Japan was better than us still. And why were they better than us? It was because they knew about everybody else's tactics, so they became better players
Right.
instead of not. That's why I called them shenanigans, because a lot of those things that we were doing, like, for example, if we didn't have internet these days, I would save Cammy's hooligan grabbing on people get up, and they were like, why can't I crouch it? You know, it's a shenanigan, right? It's absolutely a shenanigan.
Right.
But if I'm going to be relying on something like that to win, I'm not a good player.
Yeah.
I mean, straight up.
Right. You're
I'm weak.
hoping that somebody hasn't seen something before is all.
Exactly. And it's not a real strategy.
Like, I feel like the biggest difference, why you see more of this sharing thing now, is just like a redefinition of community. So like back in the day when I was playing at my arcade and I found something rad, I'd be like, hey, friends, who was that was my community, was the arcade, right?
Right.
I didn't really know anybody else.
Right.
I'd be like, check this out. It's so cool. And they'd be like, that's cool. Or if they came up with something, they'd be like, check this out. And I'd be like, all right. But now I define my community as being like basically everybody in fighting games,
Right.
because it's more accessible, right? Like I see people in Australia play, or in Europe play, or Japan regularly, all the time. I travel now all over, just not just LA, but all over the country, all over the North America, really. And so I just kind of come to think of everybody as being the fighting game community.
Yeah.
And that's what I care about. So when I find something now, okay, I'm going to post up on SRK, or I'm going to make a video about it being like, check this out, buddies. It's godlike. And they'd be like, yeah. Or if they find something else, they'd be like, hey, check this out. I'll be like, all right. It's like the same thing. The only difference is that we now have the ability to make the community bigger, basically. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. And there's also one little selfish part of it, I think, these days.
That's true.
Which the community is so large now. Before, when you saved something, you could almost be guaranteed that you could save it.
Right.
But these days, the amount of research and knowledge that we all have, people find stuff fast now.
That's true.
And now it's almost kind of like a point of pride being the one like, I made the YouTube
It
video
is.
first.
It's totally a point of pride. Like, I think it was Cross Tekken that came out. Yeah. So people got Cross Tekken on like Wednesday or Thursday,
Right.
early release, and I didn't get it until Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
And I was so worried that like all my godlike tech that I had imagined would be figured out, and somebody else would be like figuring out first. That bothered me so much, because I'm used to being able to do it now. So there definitely is. It's not just that I like helping other people out. I mean, I do. It's a big part of it. I also want to be that guy who comes up with something and be like, hey, check this out.
For sure.
You know, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
So.
And also, I mean, to be honest, to be really fair, players like myself and yourself, actually, we've kind of been of the helpful mindset, like, for pretty much the entire time we've played. You know, I mean, the very first FAQ I wrote was a Sodom fac for Alpha 1, was like how to play him. And then as it kept going, like X-Men Children of the Atom was really the game that kind of opened me up to fact writing, because in that game, no one knew how to do combos. And I started figuring out all these crazy combos, that like launchers and stuff like that. And they didn't let you super jump manually. You had to, automatically, you had to manually cancel the super jumps.
Right.
And there was all these crazy combos that no one was doing, because we were all still playing Street Fighter with X-Men characters. And as soon as I started figuring this out, I was like, this is so much fun. Everybody needs to know about this. And so I started writing the facts. And so I've been doing, combo facts, system facts, combo videos, Shoryuken posts, all that stuff since pretty much like the early days.
Right.
And, I've always wanted to try to be as helpful as possible.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the first fact that I wrote was the How to Queue guide, which was like 2 years into me playing video games seriously.
Really?
Yeah, like
Nice.
I started playing in '02, and I put that thing out in like late '04.
Nice.
So yeah, it was like from very early on. As soon as I got out of scrub mode, basically, I kind of felt like I had a debt, because other people had definitely helped me get out of scrub mode.
Right.
And I wanted to help other people get out of scrub mode, just because that's what I felt like I needed to do. Like,
I mean, even some of the biggest trolls these days, like Edma. No, he's not really a troll. He's just
Troll.
he is a troll. I mean, he wrote an MVC1 fac.
oh yeah, I didn't know that.
There was it's on GameFAQs. You can actually find Edma's MVC1 fac. So
Did not realize. Yeah,
it's actually kind of funny.
that is cool.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, it's not really the case that that only now are people sharing. It's really just that they shared only locally before. Or just with whatever they just define their like community as, and now they can do that with everybody.
Right.
And whereas people have always wanted to be the first to find something. It's just that now there's so many people looking to do it, and there's the ease of transmission is so fast that the rate of finding stuff is so much faster. You got to be publishing basically your stuff,
Right.
so that anybody knows.
I remember, I think it was at one of the fight clubs that Capcom did when I first discovered you could do Felicia Delta kick in the air into level 3, and I was like, oh, that's so sick. This is so easy now. And I was like, I want to be the first person to do this. So I was trying to do it on Maximilian. When we went to play with Maximilian, I was
yeah?
trying to do it there, and I kept missing it, and I was so sad.
Good stuff.
It's like, oh, man. Oh, okay. Oh, well.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Street Fighter 4 first came out, the first Fight Club. None of us had ever played Street Fighter 4 before. I picked Geef and was like really intent on just figuring out like cool combos and like, because yeah, that's what you do. Like that's how it is now. But anyway, I just want to say it's not the case that it hasn't always been like that. It's just a difference in size, just a difference in scale, basically. That's why it seems so different.
Yep.
But this person also, yeah. So again, there's this implicit assumption in this particular question, and you know, a lot of questions that we've had lately that nobody helped us, and it's just totally not the case. Like I said, there were people who helped me get out of scrub mode, and reading the forums on SRK definitely helped me get out of scrub mode. And I remember like watching like videos that like Streak and Slim X did on Q, and I thought those guys were awesome.
Hey man, they helped me out for sure. I mean, seriously, I have 4th generation VHSs of TZW combo videos. Okay, nice. And Gamist magazine, they used to make those videos. Yeah. And they had like those X-Men versus Street Fighter videos. You know, if you ever hear any old school person say "explosion," it's a total inside joke to one of those X-Men versus Street Fighter videos when they killed someone and the background blows up and they were like "explosion." It's like the best thing ever. But yeah, I mean, dude, it has all those VHS like the Wear.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get in until we already had the internet and digital devices. So
hey, but anyone who saw the Resident Evil 6 trailer knows that they're still using VHS.
That's right. Tapes. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Man, get with the times, Resident Evil. Anyway, I mean, another question that we got was more about just like terms of game quality and stuff like that. But let's save that for after the break. So stick around and we will talk a little bit more about, are the games that we play today that much decidedly worse than the games that we played a long time ago? So we'll take care of that as soon as we get back.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the still, as of this point, nameless Tuesday show that airs on Tuesday.
Yeah. All right, whatever. So we're just talking about answers to questions today, and one of the ones that you just brought up before the break is kind of about game quality in newer games, kind of newer generation games, which basically means Street Fighter 4 post Street Fighter 4,
right?
Versus games that came before,
right? And
there's kind of this popular idea that games from before were categorically better. At least the games that have stayed around are categorically better than newer games.
Right. So, there's a lot of people who hate things like comeback mechanics, for ultra combos, they hate them. X Factor, they hate them, and SF Cross Tekken, people are complaining about a lot now. And so, the question arises, which is, why are we playing these games when, there's, which everybody agrees that are worse than like MVC2 and Third Strike and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess I want to start answering this with an anecdote. So I started playing Third Strike before it was like the cool thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like before we found out about like Urian Unblockables and before Daigo Parry, which is when that game really blew up. And Ganagin and stuff.
Right.
It was not like the cool game. And I specifically remember people being like, man, why are you playing that assy game? Mm-hmm. Why are you not playing Marvel or CVS or Alpha or ST, which were still kind of viable at that time? People were saying it's got this stupid, we didn't call it a comeback mechanic at the time, but it's got this stupid mechanic where you can always overcome things, right? Like the parry, like there's no situation, almost no situation where you're absolutely dead. Right. That's stupid. It discourages strategy for this reason and that reason. And ultimately, I came to agree with that, but for a long time, I didn't. Mm-hmm. And I played this game that a lot of people thought sucked. They said the cast is imbalanced. Okay, they said that the parry kind of ruins the strategy, and now it's looked at as being one of these great old school games.
The pinnacle
right?
of Street Fighter.
It's so funny, the change. It's considered old. It's so weird to me that Third Strike is considered old school because it really feels like a kid's game to me still. I don't mean that pejoratively. I just mean like it feels like a younger person's game.
Right.
Because I still associate it with the time of in early to mid 2000s when a lot of new players picked that game up who didn't really play games before.
Right.
And so I view it like that. But now it's seen as something totally different.
Yeah, it's for some reason. And, I think you kind of went over this a little bit in a previous episode where you kind of talked about how we look back on things with rose-colored glasses.
We absolutely do.
And, one of the funniest things, too, is that when I was playing fighting games during one of the heydays is when, like, Killer Instinct was out, Virtua Fighter was out, Super Turbo was out. There was Samurai Showdown. There was Fatal Fears, World Heroes. There was like 7,000 different fighting games, right? We're kind of getting back to that.
Yeah.
But back then, one of the things that I always liked to say was your favorite game was the one that you could win the most at. Because that is exactly what everybody said. If you went to a fighting game and you played it and you could not win, then it was bad and strategyless and scrubby.
Right.
And if you could win in it, it was the best game ever. And that was pretty much how it always worked back then. I used to have arguments, with my brother. Both of us played fighting games all the time, and we used to fight all the time. Like, I can't even believe at one point in time, me and him fought on what was better, Virtua Fighter 1 or Killer Instinct. Like, we were arguing which of these games was better.
Okay.
And, obviously nowadays there's only clearly one answer, and I'm not gonna say which side I was on at the time.
Oh yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah, but that's just the thing. It's like whatever game you enjoyed was the better game.
Right.
It's just like when you listen to music. No one wants to hear that their band is crap.
Right.
Everyone who listens to their music thinks their band is the most creative and influential musician ever, right?
Right.
And so we had these games like Third Strike and MVC2. When MVC2 first came out, holy moly, the amount of crying about that game was there. What, you're taking away two of our buttons? We cannot play this game without middle kick and middle punch.
That's right.
Impossible. This game cannot be played because when I played Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and X of Street Fighter, there were times when I jumped in the air, I had to just use middle punch. And you're taking away that from me? This game is not playable. This game is horrible.
Yeah.
And then when I first played the game, I loved Sentinel from Children of the Atom. Uh-huh. So one of the very first time I played MVC2 was against Duck Doe, who I didn't know at the time was going to be the best player at the moment. I knew him when he was 12 years old. Like, I knew Duck when he was like 9 or something like that, right? And I did Rocket Punch from a screen away. He blocked it and Air Hyper Viper beamed me. And I was like, this is the worst game I've ever played in my life. And this is just how it goes. It's like everybody has these initial opinions because the stuff that I did before was no longer working. Right. So obviously this is the worst game ever.
Yeah, man. I think that really kind of hits at it. It's about whether something is really new. Like, that's why people were not liking Third Strike at the time because they saw how the parry could be used. Like, when the game first came out, it wasn't really used that way, but just couple years into the game's life, it was already being used in kind of an exploitative way, right. And people saw that and they were like, "This is stupid. I'm out of here." Right? Yeah. They didn't want to bother with it. But again, and then I remember when Street Fighter 4 came out, the Third Strike players, the dedicated Third Strike players, hated the fact that there was no guaranteed escape. They thought, "Hey, I know what you're gonna do. I'm 100% sure that you're gonna knock me down, or after you knock me down, you're gonna do a cross-up splash," and I would be like, "You're absolutely right. Here it is. Boom. What are you going to do about it? Nothing, because there's no parry." And they hated that. And they really had a hard time adapting. And some of them haven't adapted.
Yeah.
In fact, it's only been very recently that...
meaty supers that chipped you to death. They were like, what am I supposed to do to that? And my answer was, you die. Don't be put in that position. Well, welcome to Super Turbo, welcome to years ago kind of thing.
But it's just a question of whether you're comfortable with something. So those people hated Street Fighter 4. For me, Street Fighter 4 Ultra aside was a way to get back to ST. So like when that game first came out, one of the reasons I was really good at it was that I had all these fundamentals from playing Super Turbo. And I was playing against a lot of people who had Third Strike fundamentals, but those are not necessarily applicable to Street Fighter 4. And so it was, for me, like, one of the reasons I liked it so much was that I felt like I was playing a game that I was comfortable in again.
Yeah. It was one of the funniest things was Gutek's obviously a Third Strike player. Very first time I played him, I was at Dogface's house.
Oh, for real?
It was really weird. And I was playing him, and he was using Balrog, and I was using Cammy. It just come out on the home system.
Oh, okay.
And he said to me, "You never jump at me. It's like, why aren't you ever jumping at me?" Because he used to get free anti-airs on everybody else that he plays. He's like, "Why aren't you jumping at me?" And I said, "'Cause I'm an ST player and you never jump." And he was like, you know, he was so used to playing other third strike players, so everyone was just jumping all over the place.
He actually had a rough time adapting to that game, and he got good at it after a while. But it was hard for him to get involved. And I felt like the same thing involved in Marvel 3 coming out with Marvel 2 players adapting.
Yeah.
In Street Fighter Cross Tekken now, people have to switch from Street Fighter 4 mentality, which is still very much there. You can seriously see people are still playing Street Fighter 4 in Cross Tekken. And look, I don't love the game, but I'm sticking around to play it because I have this, I don't want to say hope, but there's a chance that there's a good game underneath. And the way that we're playing it right now, which is very much a Street Fighter 4 kind of mentality,
right.
I think is wrong, and I'm waiting to the point where people figure out that it should be played like Cross Tekken, and then I want to see whether it's going to be good. So I don't want to make this kind of final conclusion yet. Okay, I don't love the game right now, but maybe in the future.
And to be fair, I mean, a lot of people complain about Marvel and Street Fighter 4 because they are kind of the popular games, and there is so many people in the community, and the louder people are going to be louder.
Mm-hmm.
The haters are going to be louder. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like a lot of people are more mad at the game. But I will be, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I do not think Street Fighter 4 and Marvel are bad games.
Hey, I think 2012 is the best fighting game since about the year 2000. I'm not even lying about that.
I don't know if I would go that far.
I know you don't go that far.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who don't go that far, but I really like the game.
I cannot defend Cross Tekken right now.
Yeah.
So, when the people ask, why are we playing all these crappy games that everybody unanimously hates and top players hate? This is not even true. I mean, I say this all the time, but, to say Marvel is a bad, scrubby game is a huge disservice to players like Fnatic and Infrit and Yipes and all these other. I even know Yipes is not a huge fan of the game, right? But there are a lot of these players out there who spend a lot of time thinking about this game, who've gotten very good at this game and take this game very seriously. I have long conversations with Gent about this game, and it's super fascinating just to talk with him about this game because he talks about the game the way we talk about Super Turbo and all these other games. It's just like he was one of the people saying like, Phoenix Wright is the most perfectly designed character because he's so trollingly bad, but he's actually good, and nobody knows yet.
Yeah, that's right. He actually thinks that Wright is pretty good, which is interesting, yeah.
And we saw that video recently of that Japanese player just completely destroyed.
Right. So I guess I kind of think that big reason people don't like Marvel 3 is X Factor.
Yes.
Right? Big reason people don't like Street Fighter 4 is Ultra.
Yes.
Cross Tekken is a little bit more complicated, but it's relating to slowness of game and lots of timeouts and whatever. But the other games, the concerns are about this comeback mechanic sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I wasn't playing competitively when Super Turbo came out, but I've always heard people who played Hyper Fighting and Super say that they really didn't like when Supers were introduced in Super Turbo.
Yep.
In that game, you only get meter for one round, and then it's gone.
Right.
And some characters have super awesome supers.
Right.
If you're Chun-Li and you get super, game is totally changed. If you're Balrog and you get super, game is totally changed.
Yep.
Ryu's like that in a lot of matchups too. And that was kind of a comeback factor.
Dude, when that came out, people were just like, I hate the fact that you can throw out a super randomly when I hit short and you could drain half my life. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
And some of them weren't even punishable. A lot of supers weren't even punishable. Like Chun-Li, you block her super and it's like, what? Nothing. You can't do anything to her.
Yeah.
Supers were so scrubby back then. Like, people hated them. And all they were like, oh, they just wanted shadow moves to copy Mortal Kombat, because Johnny Cage had shadow moves. And so now they want to make their own shadow moves. That's pretty much what people called them, was like some Mortal Kombat ripoff answer kind of thing. Okay. And people hated them. And they still, there are some hyper fighting purists who still say that hyper fighting is like twice as good as Super Turbo because
that's a big reason.
Yeah, because of super combos.
I mean, with Street Fighter 4 and Ultras, I would like it if they did less damage. That's all. But I'm not even against taking them out of the game. I remember being worried when the game first came out that ultras would make the game stupid, and I really don't think that has happened.
No.
I was and kind of still am concerned about X Factor, but it hasn't really happened. It hasn't killed the game in the way that I thought it would.
Right,
that is to say
right.
that the results in tournaments are not as random as I expected.
Right.
So I guess in both situations, I don't like the idea of them, but hey, my favorite game ever has it basically, and they haven't really killed the games that we're playing now. So I don't know.
And
I don't think it's that big a deal in the end.
And also one other thing too is, there's a lot of talk about games like King of Fighters 13 being the perfect fighting game right now and stuff like that because it's all skill based. There's no
comeback mechanic, right?
Mechanic
Oh, what a crock.
Yeah. And don't get us wrong, we like the game.
Oh, I've been grinding that game out.
Right.
I mean, how I just said that 2012 is the best game in 10 years.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I'll think that way about KOF in the future. That
right.
I can totally see that taking over 2012 for me. But it's not true that it doesn't have a comeback mechanic.
It absolutely has a comeback mechanic.
Yeah, which is your second and third characters get additional meters.
Right.
So when you get to the last character, you got 5 meters. And that means, I don't know if you saw this combo video that was put out just a couple days ago. Everybody in the game has 100% combo.
Right.
If you have enough bar. And
not
that's,
even...
that opens up the ability to 100% everybody in the game.
Right.
The fact that you get those 5 bars.
Right. And here's another example, right? Let's say you have 5 meters and you're the last character and you're going up against one character left, right? And he has a full meter. Mm-hmm. He hits you with the Neo Max, you barely live, right? And then you hit him with the Neo Max and you kill him. Next round, guess what? You start with 2 meters. And as soon as I land my HD combo, I get to Neo Max again. And so I get to kill a second character. The fact that I could do 2 Neo Maxes 2 rounds in a row, even if I had never built a single chunk of meter again, is a comeback factor.
Yeah.
Because the first character can't do that, right? So not saying that it's a bad system, and obviously
I think it's pretty cool.
It takes a lot more skill to land it than an X Factor.
Yeah,
I mean,
course.
no one's going to deny that X Factor is a problem.
Yeah.
No one's going to deny X Factor's kind of dumb, but like my favorite conversation that I had with Fnatic one time was I killed the first character, and then the second character came in, and I started hitting him, and I could hear Fnatic in the background going, X Factor, kill him with an X Factor. And I just waited till the end, and I was just doing whatever. And afterwards, he looked at me. He's like, look, your X Factor is not going to save you from his level 3 X Factor. If he activates level 3 X Factor with this last character, he's going to kill all your characters, whether you have that or not, right?
Okay.
And if you don't kill his second character, he may come back and beat you up. So there is absolutely no reason to use your X Factor right there to kill their second character to go 3 versus 1 and stuff like that. And he was just coming at it from this very scientific, strategic point, and I was like, it was so cool to hear, So even as scrubby as it might be, there is some, legitimate strategy to using it still.
Anyway, the point is that we all look at the older games that a lot of us like with rose-colored glasses, that we assign them like ideas that are not necessarily the case, and that even at the time when they came out were disputed by everybody.
Right.
And I don't doubt that kind of thing will happen in the future with Marvel 3 and Street Fighter 4. Will it happen with Cross? I can see Cross dying. I mean, I don't know, maybe. But if it ends up being a game that is playable, in like a fun, competitive kind of way, then for sure there are going to be people who came in on Cross and who 10 years from now are going to be like, man, Street Fighter 5, scrubs game.
I always joke that during Street Fighter 7 or Street Fighter 6, that we're going to be like, man, they had to make reversals 1 frame. What, just people couldn't handle wake-ups or something like that? Now they have to make it all scrubby so I can't do anything, so now your media attacks are safe. What a scrub game, It just depends on
which
where
is how it was back in the day.
Yeah, it just all depends on where you came from.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we don't have that much time. Let's just, answer why is Cross Tekken still popular?
I don't think it is.
It's not. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, I do think that there could be a good game buried underneath. That's why I'm not stopping playing it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people have already given it up. You're already seeing entrants drop.
There's that really famous animated GIF of Tom Cruise now.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen it, go try to look it up.
Yeah.
Street Fighter Cross Tekken Tom Cruise animated GIF. But I mean, honestly speaking, like, you know, the question really is, you know, why don't we leave these games that are bad and move to the good games? You know, I mean, it's going to happen. If Cross Tekken does not improve, we will leave the game. It's going to happen. If, you know, and the other point again is that as much as crying and whining you hear about Marvel and Street Fighter 4, they're not bad games.
No, they're not.
I mean, I think Street Fighter 4 is a more solid game because X Factor is the elephant in the room. You can't deny the fact that there are some, you know, unlegitimate victories thanks to
There's
that.
some stupid stuff. Yeah, for sure.
But it's like you were saying, like
I just got swept by Vega, and then he did wall dive shenanigans on me until I died.
Exactly.
Right? Like okay.
Yeah, I couldn't block left or
stupid.
right, and I just got killed by Vega.
I mean, it's really dumb. We've known it's dumb since all time.
Right.
Same kind of thing now.
Yep. But you know what? We've learned to deal with it.
Yeah.
And we've learned, dude, I mean, old Sagat, he invalidates half the cast, but we've been playing with it forever.
Exactly.
And to hear Third Strike fans say that the game is not unbalanced, like, I don't know.
That Third Strike is not imbalanced?
I don't know what they're thinking. Like, Chun-Li and Yun aren't that good. Like, if you take Chun out of the game, the whole game is, like, fair. And I don't know. Like, I just...
Yeah, I mean, Chun is that kind of thing where she invalidates characters in a way that Yun doesn't. Yun still beats characters. He doesn't make them useless. But you still got Sean in the back, and so you're always going to have an ass character, right? Anyway, I can imagine a world where King of Fighters is bigger than Street Fighter Cross Tekken. That's not crazy to me. I can even imagine a world where Skullgirls is bigger than Cross Tekken. That's also
Mortal
not crazy.
Kombat 9.
Like Mortal Kombat as well.
Mortal Kombat 9, you know, it will probably... I have more faith in the Mortal Kombat community keeping that game alive right now than I do Cross Tekken community.
Totally agree.
I mean, there are some players out there who are enjoying Cross Tekken too, though. So
sure,
we can't invalidate what they're saying.
I mean, like I said, I'm still playing it. I'm still trying to grind it out.
Like, here's a great example. Viscant still likes that game. He likes Cross Tekken, and he's mad that, you know, that a lot of people are just, you know, ignoring it. And
I mean, he even thinks that Bison is okay.
Yeah, and he's as old school as you can get, right? So, you know, it's, you know, I don't like the fact that it's just because the internet is louder today that we think everybody hates today's games. If we had today's internet back in the old days, it would be bad. I mean, we could probably dig up old AGSF2 posts about us crying about Alpha 2. I mean, once we started finding out what we could do with custom combos, we were laughing so bad, like, this is the worst game in the world. Like,
now considered a classic of fighting games.
Right. I mean, literally, when it showed up at UCLA the very first time, day one, I was like, this game is pretty good. Day two, I wrote on AGS2's long review, this game is horrible. This is the worst game I ever played. Day three, I was like, it might not actually be that bad. Day four is like, no, it's really bad. I mean, it was just going back and forth.
That's awesome.
That's just the way it is. So
yeah. So in conclusion, I'm not sure the Cross is still popular. Like you said, there are still players playing it and still having a fun time with it. And I really hope that those are the guys that make the rest of us come back.
Yep.
But can totally see a world happening where that doesn't happen at all. And KOF and Mortal and Skullgirls are all bigger games.
I've always said, I always will recount the story where I wrote that article for IGN and I was like, Mortal Kombat is not going to change. It's not going to get any better. And I was absolutely 100% wrong.
Dude, I got to be honest. That and actually CVS 2 are the two reasons that I'm still playing Cross Tekken. That I remember that I liked Mortal Kombat when it came out. I always liked the game. But I remember you saying that you thought this way, and it didn't pan out like that. And now that's why I'm a little hesitant to be like, this game will be ass forever, because I just don't want to stake out that position, because it might not be. And like in CVS 2, the game changed pretty drastically. I mean, part of the reason was glitches, roll cancel, but it changed drastically and made a lot of characters playable that otherwise wouldn't have been. And hey, maybe we find that kind of thing in this game too. So that's why I want to keep playing it. I don't love it right now.
I mean, I don't even want to try to pretend to be political. If you talk to
Yeah.
me in person, I've talked to everyone. It was at Texas Showdown, at NCR, or whatever.
Yeah.
Every time someone asks me, what do you think of Cross Tech? And I'm like, this game is horrible.
I don't like it either.
I hate this game.
Yeah, I don't
man.
like
It's
it.
like the worst game I've ever played.
Yeah.
I mean, that's honestly what I tell
Yeah.
people.
No, I'm not shy about it either.
So, but just like with Mortal Kombat, I will be happy to be proven wrong. I will be happy to be proven wrong. That's just my opinion right now,
Cool.
coming from the guy who says Cammy sucks in every game. So
Oh yeah, she doesn't seem that bad in Cross actually.
I'm starting to kind of waver a little, but I still think people hit too many buttons against her. But anyway, that's
People
a whole
do.
other day.
No,
That's a whole
I
other
agree.
day,
We were saying, we had a whole show on this. People are playing that game wrong.
right.
So, anyway, I guess we're out of time.
Yeah.
We didn't get to do any community stuff this week.
Again, this
Yeah,
is 3
again.
weeks in a row.
Yeah, we suck. We should just
get-
have a show, or like maybe a different show.
Yeah, well, we just talk about the community stuff. Maybe even like after level 3 focus for like 15 minutes, we just
That'd be
do
a good idea.
something like that.
Because that's true. There's no show running into us
Right,
back.
right,
Yeah, okay.
right.
Yeah, we should do that.
Because and unfortunately, we can't joke about the Steve show coming up because Steve actually has a show now.
Oh, dude, that was so good.
I haven't seen it yet.
That's hilarious.
I need to see it. I need to see it. So Steve actually has his own show. You can find it on the Cross Counter YouTube.
It's wasting time with Steve.
Yeah. So he had his own show this last weekend where he just answered questions from people, and I haven't seen it yet, but apparently it's amazing.
It was really funny. Yeah,
Okay.
man. I remember when that guy was a shy cameraman.
I know, right?
Things have changed.
Yeah, exactly. So
Good stuff. All right, so make sure that you go over to YouTube for youtube.com/thestreamtv.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to be on Cross Counter Live with Mike Ross, and I don't really know who else today. I guess we'll find out. And as for us, please go to youtube.com/UltraChenTV. Like I said, I'm uploading the videos from yesterday where we talk all about Skullgirls with Mike Z, and you talk about the game with Mike Z. We literally had 4 hours of footage on that thing, so it was really good for characters and for matchups and gameplay and game
honestly,
engines,
if it wasn't for the
super
fact
good.
that we had to go to sleep, like we probably just would have went on.
Oh, for sure.
And on and on. I mean, Mike even joked about it the first time I played the game. He couldn't show me anything because I was like, wait, let me try this combo. Wait, let me try this combo.
Yep.
Wait, let me try this combo. And he was like, let me show you. I'm like, no, wait, let me try this combo.
Yeah.
It was like that all day. So
All right, so check that out. Please subscribe there. Be the first to know when those videos are up. And as for live streams, we'll see you on Monday for more Ultra Chen TV, First Attack, and Level 3 Focus on that day.
And as it says on the bottom, follow us on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube and Twitter. So
Exactly right. All right. We will see you.
All right. Peace out, everybody's.